All right, writing workshop. My name is Mr. Matthew Larson. I'm the extended essay coordinator here at Bahrain Bayan School. Some of this is going to seem kind of redundant, but it's stuff that I'm still seeing students do, and it's important to understand that so you know how to do it correctly. And even if you do know this, it's a good little refresher. So we're going to go through some of the basic kind of things that you need to know in order to write a good, strong essay. Now, first and foremost, you need to understand the rules of capitalization. Capitalization is used for the first letter of a sentence every single time. Okay, this is the default on most software that I'm aware of. I think all of them do make sure that you are capitalizing the first letter of every sentence. A proper noun. So this is referring to something that is a name of a place, okay, of a person, of a title, abbreviation, anything like that. The letter I, whenever it is isolated and alone, you always need to capitalize it. This is something that I am seeing consistently. Do make sure that you are capitalizing I every single time. Anything you turn in for the extended essay, you need to make sure you're capitalizing the letter I. Punctuation, okay, the period, the full stop. This is going to be used after a complete thought to mark the end of a sentence. Okay, so once you've given me a full thought right through here, you're going to use a period. Okay, you can also use a period after abbreviation, which we'll talk about in just a second. A question mark is going to be added at the end of a question. Okay, if a sentence is not a question, do not add a question mark. That is just important. Make sure you know this. A colon right through here is used before listing something. So if you're going to be saying go to the grocery store and buy, colon, milk, butter, eggs, and toast. Okay, you can list right through there. This is going to be the semicolon. My recommendation is just do not use these unless you are incredibly confident on how to properly use these. I see these misused many times. So my recommendation is if you're not comfortable with it, you don't know the exact rules of using a semicolon, don't use a semicolon, okay? If you're comfortable with it, know exactly how to use it, and you can do it confidently and correctly, by all means, use it. Otherwise, don't, okay? And a comma. A comma is used to separate lists, introductory phrases, and anything that is going to be an aside in your writing. Now, you will never end a sentence with a comma. This is something that I consistently see. Never end a sentence with a comma. It does not happen. It will not happen. Do not use that, okay? I also recommend that you do not use more than one comma per sentence unless you are making a list. And the reason I say this is oftentimes I have seen students use multiple commas, and when they're doing this, it ends up being a run-on sentence. Can you use more than one comma in a sentence? Yes. Do I recommend it? No, unless you are very confident in what you are doing and you're certain that you are not making a run-on sentence. So be aware of that. Look at that as you are going through when you're writing. Now, paragraphs are used to separate different ideas. There is no limit to how many that you can use per paper. Okay, you can have multiple paragraphs. It does not matter the size of the paper, the extended essay being 4,000 words. It's a very long paper. You're going to have multiple paragraphs. Even something short like a 500-word essay that you might turn into one of your teachers, okay? That can have multiple paragraphs. It does not matter. There's no limit on how many you can use in a sentence. Use the acronym TIP-TOP to understand when to break up your paragraphs. When the time changes, okay, the TI from TIP, you need to have a new paragraph when you go from one time to the other. When I start from the morning and now is the evening, okay? For breakfast, I did this. Then at lunch, I did this. You need to have a new paragraph because the time has changed. When the place changes, okay, when you go from one room to another or one physical place to another, one town to another town, one part of the school to another part of the school, change your paragraph. That's a tip. Now the top, okay, the TO is for topic, when the topic changes. So if I'm talking about dogs and I go from a Chihuahua to a Great Dane, yes, they are both dogs. The topic has changed from Chihuahuas to Great Dane. Therefore, you need a different topic or a different paragraph, excuse me. And lastly, person. When a new person comes into the picture or someone leaves, you need to make a new paragraph. Remember the acronym TIP-TOP. That's going to help you break up your paragraphs. Now, it's going to be your turn. I'm going to give you a section of writing from The Happy Prince by Oscar Wilde. You need to look at the following paragraph. When you look at this, you need to determine where it should be broken up, and you will be telling me this. There's going to be 4 different paragraphs in this text of writing. So, if you were watching this at home, okay, lastly, you need to know why you need to break it up. So, if you're watching this on an Edpuzzle, it's going to pause for you automatically. Otherwise, I recommend you pause the video right now, read this, and determine where your 4 breakups are going to be. Okay? Now, where do we break it up? If If you look right back in here, you can see that this section is going to be broken up right here, okay? After I cannot move, because we're changing from one topic to another right through here, okay? We're going from him telling about what he's seeing, okay, in this individual room. He's seeing this from the window, right through here. He's now changing the topic from, instead of talking about what he's seeing, he's talking about where he needs to go, which is Egypt. Now, let's look at this one. Where do we break it up? Okay, this one's going to be broken up right here, withered leaves, okay, because we're changing it, okay? If you look at the next sentence, swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. We have a new character coming in, meaning we have not talked about them yet. Remember, tip top, when a person comes into the situation or into the story, we need to have a new paragraph. So lastly, look right here, okay, where do we break it? So you can see, okay, right through here. So this is going to be a short paragraph. Again, paragraphs come in all shapes and sizes. You can see it right through here. Okay, we're talking about one thing. He's asking a question. The next one is something new happening. That's why it's going to be here. Okay, where do we break this one? We don't. Okay, this whole paragraph is going to be the same. You see that right through here. So if you look previously, this is a bit of writing, okay? This is what that section would look like without paragraphs. It's disgusting. It's gross. It makes me gag. Don't do it. This is much better. This is amazing. Do it this way. Thank you. Okay. Now, paragraphs, again, separate ideas. There's no limit on how many you can use per paper. Usually it tends to be about 4 to 8 sentences per paragraph. You can have more. You can have less. This is just kind of a good rule of thumb. Sentence 1 should be about what the paragraph is about. So you're telling me this paragraph will be talking about this, this, this. Don't actually say, this is about this, because that's poor writing. I don't like it. It's not very strong. It will hurt you when it comes to the actual assessment portion of the essay. The next sentence or sentences, you need to prove your point, giving me your evidence, and lastly, explain why it matters, okay? Right through here. So think back when you've done PPACs in English class. You had a point, you had your proof, and you had your analysis. A PPAC is basically a paragraph, okay? It's the structure of a paragraph. Understand that right through there. Now, when constructing a sentence, you need to start with a capital letter. Every flippin' time. Do it, okay? Avoid the conjunctions and using fanboys right here. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Don't start sentences with them, okay? It sounds bad. These are conjunctions. Conjunctions link two things together, okay? You do not want to have two things linked, and they physically can't be linked if they're a different sentence, okay? I had to grab my umbrella, for it was raining outside. That has to be a conjunction right through there. For it was raining outside is not a full sentence. Don't start with it. Okay, you can see the other examples right through there. Every single sentence must contain a subject, okay? What we are talking about. It must contain an action. What's happening to the subject, okay? And you should avoid using and more than once in a sentence, okay? So for example, if I'm going to be talking about the subject, the cat jumped over the fence, okay? The subject of that sentence is the cat, because what the sentence is about, the cat, what does a cat do? It's jumping over the fence, okay? I say avoid using the word and more than once because most of the time when this is happening, it means you have a run-on sentence. Replace one of those ands, most likely the second one, with a punctuation mark of some sort, most likely a full stop. Now, your introduction, okay? You need to provide a hook. This is not just some random quote. If you don't already know the quote, don't use the quote. This is not where you just Google, like, quotes about blah, blah, blah. That's not a good way of doing this. It makes your writing really poor. Don't do it. Can you use a quote as a hook? Of course. Make sure it's a quote you already know because it's going to show that you actually have some connection to it. You need to define the terms. What vocabulary should I know when reading your paper? Now, it's important to understand on this. There's a number of things you need to understand. But number one, your extended essay is going to be read by someone who has an understanding of the topic. Okay? You don't need to break it down like you're teaching some third grader who doesn't know what you're talking about. But you need to define the terms to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Make sure you are doing that in your introduction. Additionally, your thesis statement, which is going to be, in this case, your research question, needs to be a part of the introduction. It should not physically stand out. It should be a connection, literally connected to that, but it should stand out on its own because it should just be that strongly written that it's the part of the sentence that, like, as you read it, you're like, oh, I remember that. That's what it should be there. The body, it takes as many paragraphs as it takes. You need to have continual flow. Do not have asides, okay? So if it's something that's off topic, you don't want to put it there. When you're writing the draft, feel free to write it, but make sure you edit it out later. You need to indent your paragraphs, always, okay? Follow punctuation like that. Conclusion, about the same length as your introduction, okay? It should be kind of a bookend. If you have a really long introduction and a really small conclusion, you don't really have it balanced out. Make sure you have them roughly the same right through there. You need to restate your thesis, but in a different way. Explain the significant points of your paper. You're kind of summing everything up right through here. You need to go full circle. Back to the beginning, okay? A good comic starts with one thing. When they end their set, they end up referencing the same thing. Do kind of the same thing in your paper, and it's going to come out much better. Citations are also going to be important. Always cite your work, every little bit of your work. Citations must be in alphabetical order. You need to use proper format. This is all on the website. Always on a new page. So if you end a paper and it goes on to the another page by like 3-4 lines, your citations need to start on another page every single time. Okay, so that's going to be all for this right here. Now, if you can, on the website, you see right here, academic writing, make sure you are familiar with this kind of stuff right through here. Please do look this over, okay? Look at the viewpoint, the subject, content, structure, purpose. You can read all this stuff right through here. Look at the do's, look at the don'ts, and make sure you are following that, okay? Now, if you look right here, this is a link on writing in the different disciplines. Make sure you follow this as well. This is going to help you, okay? It's going to show you how you write. An example, a history paper. Here's how you write an economics paper. Here's how you write a psychology paper. Make sure you are following that right there. Lastly, you may go ahead and follow the links on my website as well, larson-online.weebly.com. I've got a bunch of writing tips on there. I'm going to post that on the screen right here so you can see the link. And that's all for now. If you have questions, comments, anything like that, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm more than happy to help you out. Make sure you understand this information because it is important. If you don't have it, you're going to struggle. That's all. Take care. Good luck.